All right, guys, we've got a 2017 GMC. All right, guys, we've got a 2017 Chevrolet Silverado. It's got about a 6-inch lift on it. I do have the front wheel jacked up because we're changing wheel bearings on both sides of this. Let me see if I can get, when you drive it, you can really hear it. I'm going to try to get it to where you can hear it. But whenever you're driving, you hear a pretty loud growl coming from the what sounds like the left front. Don't know if you can hear that or not. It still feels tight. So anyway, let me get this wheel off and we're going to get started. Just a quick tip, if you don't have an impact to impact these axle nuts off, what you want to do is before you take the wheel off, before you break these lug nuts loose and pull the wheel off, now's the time you want to try to get that off. Yeah, they can be pretty tight when the wheel's off and you've got it jacked up. Either you're going to have someone press on the brakes, or you're going to have to lock that rotor from spinning so that you'll be able to get enough torque to break that loose. So now's a good time to actually get it broke loose. That way the wheel holds it from spinning, prevents it from spinning. Just a quick tip. All right, guys, so I've got it jacked up. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this caliper back a little bit, just enough to where when I take this caliper bracket off, the pads aren't going to be gripping onto the rotor. Now I'm going to take the bracket off. I'm going to take the caliper off with the bracket. So the caliper bolts are 18 millimeter. You got 2 of them back here. Gonna need a little helper with that one. So make sure you don't hang your caliper by the hose. Hang it with something. And we're going to be taking this connector off right here for the ABS. We'll take this bracket off right here. This clamp. It doesn't look like there's, like I say, this truck's been lifted, so this is probably all aftermarket. I don't know where this typically would go, but the factory little Christmas tree clips aren't attached anywhere. If they did attach it, looks like with a clamp right here, so that's fine. Next step is to get this nut off, and then there are 3 bolts here in the back that we're going to take off. And hopefully, now this is a cast iron knuckle, so hopefully it's not going to be rusted up so bad. Some of these are aluminum, and when you've got steel against aluminum, you've got dissimilar metal, potential for dissimilar metal corrosion. So I'm glad to see that these are cast iron. So I'm going to open the door, put the key in so that I can move this wheel. Well, the other side's on the ground. I've only got this side lifted up, so I might have to turn it with the steering wheel, but nonetheless, we'll get through it. I've got a Torx here I've got to take off to get this rotor off. T30 Torx to get the rotor off. Now let's get this nut off here. Yeah, I can even hear that bearing. I believe this is a 35. I don't have a 35, but I got a 36. So hopefully that'll do the job. Nut and washer. We do have new nuts. He bought new nuts. You could reuse this if you wanted to. And make sure your axle moves free. So now we got to get the 3 bolts, and that hub should pop off. I've just found it's easier to turn the wheel to get to certain bolts. I'm going to be able to get to both these on this side pretty easy. 15 millimeter. Now would be a good time to make sure your boot is in good shape. If the other side was lifted up, I could just turn this knuckle with my hand. And yeah, this knuckle's wanting to just fall right off, so that's good. So I'm gonna have to take this clamp off up top here that I showed you earlier, right here, and undo the connector up here. You're not going to have this bracket. You're just going to have these little Christmas, what I call Christmas tree clips. And you're just going to have to unsnap these from, well, this isn't actually a Christmas tree. Looks like this just goes on a piece of metal. All right. Make sure that you are in view here. Of course, you want to keep track of which way your backing plate is. Here's your ABS sensor. I'm going to push the axle. And as I get this out, and there's the hub. Backing plate will come right off. There's a big washer. Let me show you in here. You go to washer right here and make sure that that doesn't go anywhere. And other than all this rust, we should be good to go. I'm going to clean this up and then get some grease. It does say in the manual to rub a thin coat of grease along this surface right here, probably to help prevent rust. I'm just going to use my little die grinder here. I'm going to get that out of my way for now. I think that'll work. I'm going to turn this back straight so I can get the hub on easier. This is the hub we're putting on it. Comes with the ABS sensor. All ready to go. Nice and tight, nice and quiet. So, let me... I'm just using some generic grease. Thin coat on the inside. Maybe some here on these splines too. I've had these so hard that you had to fight with them for an hour just to finally free the axle from the hub. So a little grease probably won't hurt. All right. Just remember which way your backing plate went. You got a little hole there for the bolts. Get that up out of the way. There's that one. There's the other bolt. Okay, all three bolts are started, so all I got to do now is just tighten them up. And then torque them. The torque on these bolts, 133 foot-pounds, I believe. If that's not correct, I'll put it in the up at the top of the screen. But I think I read it as 133 foot-pounds. I'm going to zip these down, then I'm going to torque them as soon as I find the appropriate socket. Now he's putting new nuts on, and they've got Loctite already applied. I mean, I put these on without putting Loctite on them, but if you got Loctite, then wouldn't be a bad idea. It also wouldn't be a bad idea to put Loctite on these bolts back here, but I typically don't. I don't think the manual tells you, you know, it doesn't tell you to do that, but a lot of people like that Loctite. All right. And like I say, this truck's got a 6-inch lift on it. So I don't know if these knuckles are even factory or not. I don't know what all's been changed out to get this to a 6-inch lift, but I do know that I don't think this bracket using a clamp is what the factory came out with. So you're probably going to have places to clip these. So just utilize wherever these came from on your truck. Anyway, we're pretty much done. This was a hub replacement. This was a 2017 Silverado. This one does have a 6-inch lift. I've still got to put the brake caliper assembly, and then we're done. So as you can see, the hub itself isn't that big of a deal. Again, some of these have aluminum knuckles, and you could come into a situation to where the knuckle, where the hub is stuck to the knuckle because of corrosion. In which case, there's multiple ways. Yeah, there's plenty of YouTube videos on how you can get these off. One of the best ways to do it, you're replacing your hub anyway. Cut one of these off with a die grinder, finish hammering the stud through, so now you've got an open hole. And then you can take a bolt, like a 1/2-inch bolt, a 1/2-13, go to the hardware store, and you can use that hole with a bolt and a nut to press this off. You just put the bolt in, it goes up against the knuckle with the nut up against the hub. As you tighten it up, it'll pull that hub off of the knuckle. Anyway, I'm going to finish this up and we're going to be done. Don't forget to pump your brakes before you put it in gear, because if you push your pistons back in your calipers like I do, I didn't do it a whole lot. I just did it enough to get the caliper off. The pedal is going to need to be pumped to build up some pressure. All right, guys, I got it all put back together. I'll put the torques in the description of what this axle nut and the brake caliper bolts torque to, as well as the hub bolts. Got the connector hooked up here. Again, this truck's clamped because it's got that lift, but other than putting the tire on or the wheel assembly, this is done. Of course, don't forget your torques right here. And yeah, real quick and easy hub replacement. I'll put links to the hubs, and yeah, we'll go from there. Just a quick recommendation: if you have a lift on your truck, I would splurge on the hubs, and I would get some good quality hubs. That's what this guy did. He bought some good quality hubs, because he doesn't want this to happen again. So I would spend a little extra on some good quality ones, and I'll put links to some good quality ones in the description. You guys take care. All right, guys, I just want to show you the after. So I'm going to spin this about as fast as I can and compare it to the before. I'll actually put them back to back. I mean, you literally cannot even hear it.